Good evening. Glad as usual to bring you News Extra. NTA's top-notch offering that makes your Wednesday nights get better. Whether you had it good or not too good, however your day has been, just be rest assured that we have something that will serve your interest. Tonight, investors in oil and gas get assurance from President Tinubu. Did I hear you say assurance? On what? Find out. In politics, the quest for participatory governance takes opposition party to Mr. President. We have that. We have been tracking the controversy around the alleged fake UTME result of candidate Mesoma. We have some interesting angles to the saga you shouldn't miss. We shall feed you with happenings from both the red and green chambers. Ajaokuta Steel Company is in the news again with the Emirate people of Kogi State, where the company is located, spelling out the low-hanging fruits and why President Tinubu should consider it as a sure way to his vision of an industrialized Nigeria. The rains are on with the good and not so good results. The conversation around flood is on the upswing mood as the rains gather momentum. We have quite a bit on security, the pronouncement on passport reforms from the immigration leadership, and something from the world of horse grooming and racing as correspondent goes galloping. From business to sports, we have much more on tonight's lineup you should look forward to. We always say the taste of the pudding is in the eating. So, hook up to News Extra and you'll be glad you did. I'm Elizabeth Omori. Welcome. We begin with the oil and gas sector. President Bola Tinubu has promised a safe climate towards ensuring completion of the first floating liquefied natural gas project and other legitimate investments in the country's oil and gas sector. President Tinubu gave the assurance when he received the leadership of UTME Offshore Limited and partners at the State House. Correspondent Musbah Wahab reports.
Another peak in the action plan for better Nigeria as President Tinubu continues consultations guided by his manifesto. It is oil and gas. There is the need to increase domestic oil production to meet up with the world's expanding energy demand. But more pressing for the president is how to harness domestic gas potential as Nigeria works towards achieving energy transition like most nations of the world. Fortune smiles at Nigeria, but about 600 trillion cubic feet of gas under the feet still remains a potential. Now, in filling the investment gaps missing in the country's energy mix, the president this day finds a ready partner, UTME Offshore, and its technical partners from Japan and France already constructing the first floating liquefied natural gas in Nigeria.
This project alone will deliver 25% of the requirement of LPG in country Nigeria. That also will also save the environment for deforestation, whereby the women folks who are dying from using firewood will stop using firewood and start using LPG as their source of energy.
The floating energy will be contributed decarbonization strategy of Nigeria.
We are here ready to bring all the resources and the competencies to put this project forward.
Also impressive for the president are the company's capacity and investments which promise to boost the country's economy when operational in the first quarter of 2026.
This project has the ability to create 7,000 jobs for Nigerians already. As we speak, various Nigerians are already working in various parts of the world in terms of the engineering part of it. On the local content part, we are working with Nigerian Content Board to ensure that Nigerians are trained on how to manage and operate the plant when it becomes operational. So we believe that this will support job creation in line with Mr. President's our objective to create jobs and monetize our gas resources.
UTM Offshore Limited and its partners go away with the assurances of the President for a safe business environment. The Petroleum Industry Act in place also guarantees investments and so a much brighter future for Nigeria's oil and gas sector. From the State House, Musbah and Wahab, NTA News.
Away from oil and gas into other issues at the State House, the issue of participatory governance came up again as President Bola Tinubu received some members of the opposition party, People's Democratic Party, PDP. A former president of the Senate, Pius Aim, and former National Public Secretary of the PDP, Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Olisami Metu, were at the State House to visit the president.
Yeah, it was a great honor to pay courtesy on the president, to congratulate him first and foremost for his successful inauguration as the 16th president of Nigeria, and also to encourage and congratulate him on the bold steps he has taken so far. So we had a whole lot of heart-to-heart discussions, but primarily is to congratulate him.
Very good take of the policies he has done, his inclusiveness, and most of all to canvass for the idea of participatory governance, participatory democracy. We believe that for policies and programs, it has to be options and alternatives to those programs, but only when we're together can we achieve success. So we believe that from now onwards, Mr. President has shown the way that the country will come together and then we'll be able to live happily.
And from the State House, let's head to the court where we heard that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the All Progressives Congress have closed their cases in the petition filed by Labour Party and its presidential candidate Peter Obi challenging the result of this year's presidential election. This was after tendering 18 exhibits and calling its only witness to give evidence. Senate Majority Leader Senator Okpeyemi Bamidele Olabode Arewa reports that the APC also closed its case in the petition filed by the PDP and its presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar.
Among the documents tendered by the APC and President Bola Tinubu at Wednesday's proceedings are a letter from the late Inspector General of Police, Tafa Balogun, to the United States Embassy requesting information about the then Lagos State Governor Bola Tinubu. The response from the United States Embassy, President Bola Tinubu's educational records, which were obtained from the Chicago State University, the data pages of Tinubu's Nigerian passports, the US visa pages on his passports, copies of Labour Party's list of members from Anambra State, and the list of the Labour Party's candidates, which were fielded during the 2023 elections. In his witness deposition, Senate Majority Leader Okpeyemi Bamidele, who was the only witness for the APC, claimed that Form EC8 result sheets from Kano State showed that Tinubu's votes recorded a shortfall of 10,929. He said, having been a long-term associate of Tinubu, he could confirm his Nigerian nationality and that he did not have a criminal conviction either in the USA or anywhere else. The APC having closed his case, the court has ordered parties to abide by the stipulated dates for filing their processes before they will be invited for their final addresses.
I stand to be contradicted, but the choice is theirs to call a witness or not to call a witness or witnesses. For us, we are ready.
APC in its defense said Peter Obi's membership of the Labour Party was invalid as this violated Section 77 of the Electoral Act, which stipulated 30 days as the latest date for a party to submit its register of members to INEC. In the petition filed by the PDP and its presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar, the APC and President Bola Tinubu also closed their case by calling the earlier witness, Senator Bamidele, to give evidence. The witness in this case testified that he monitored proceedings from the party situation room and did not visit any polling unit for fact-checking.
We were able to call 27 witnesses, some of them expert witnesses, star witnesses, in proof of our case.
With the APC also closing its case against the PDP, the parties are waiting on the courts to invite them for the final written addresses. Olabodarewa, NTA News.
Away from legal matters, democracy is said to be one of the best forms of governance, with the separation of powers as one of its beauties. This is because checks and balances remain major fundamentals to checking arbitrariness within the three arms of government. Parliamentary screening of nominees for appointments by the executive is a major part of checks and balances. This report by Ignatius Nkwo highlights its constitutionality.
The people are the center of liberal democracy, a government with three arms carrying out overlapping constitutional functions: the executive, legislature, and the judiciary. Section 6 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as amended, provides that the power to approve presidential nominees for appointment as ministers of the Federation, ambassadors, and members of the board of other executive bodies is vested in the Senate. Similarly, the power to approve governors' nominees for commissioners and members of other state executive bodies resides with the House of Assembly of the states. Parliamentary screening of executive nominees plays a major role in ensuring that only the best are recruited into governance.
The parliaments are the representatives of the various constituencies that makes up the federation. They should be the ones to see regarding the quality and the competence of those to be saddled with the responsibility of national governance.
The parliament does not need to disqualify a ministerial nominee to exert its authority. The powers of the parliaments are clear in the constitution.
Whenever the legislature disapproves any nominee submitted by the executive for a particular position, such a nominee can also be resubmitted for the same or another position. Loretta Onochie's rejection by the 9th Senate as National Commissioner for the Independent National Electoral Commission and her subsequent approval as Chairman of the Niger Delta Development Commission Board is a clear example.
In a sensitive capacity like the position of an INEC commissioner, which is an electoral empire. So she has clearly defined her position in the political space. So it will not make sense to screen and approve her for such a position.
Ironically, this constitutional provision appears to be jettisoned by some state governors.
You will discover that so many state governors will just go ahead and appoint their commissioners, and then to the extent of getting them sworn in.
Some critics have claimed that the legislature sometimes abused the power of confirmation and use it as a tool for getting at the executive, just as some persons alleged that the rejection of Ibrahim Magu as chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission twice by the 8th Senate was a payback to the executive at the time. Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Thank you, Ignatius, for the enlightenment. Now let's talk security. The House of Representatives has urged the federal government to initiate a coordinated joint security operation that will address recurring cases of banditry in parts of the country. National Assembly correspondent Mitari reports that the Green Chamber at Wednesday's plenary also mandated and had a committee to investigate potential loss of Nigerian territory to Cameroon.
Help me God. Honorable Speaker, 4 out of 11 motions considered by plenary bordered on security concerns.
Incessant offensive by the bandit will lead to the lower payment productivity, which will aggravate the existing food insecurity in the communities.
The House resolves to urge the federal government to set up a well-equipped and properly motivated joint security task force.
A motion by Representative Victor Abang also drew attention to possible loss of 10,000 hectares of Nigerian territory to Cameroon if International Boundary Pillar 113A in Cross River State is not located by the Joint Technical Team of the Nigeria-Cameroon Mixed Commission.
If urgent actions are not taken by the federal government, the entire country will lose the good people of Danare, Biafra in Burkina
say so. Because treaties can be reviewed. These people have lived here for many, many years and centuries.
Blame game over alleged manipulation of UTME result by one Miss Mesoma Ejikeme also caught the attention of the House.
I know that the person in question does not have the opportunity to sit here with us to be heard. She may also not have the opportunity to convoke press conferences like JAMB is trying to do.
The current JAMB result that if a child wants to print must come with a photograph. So that's my suspicion that this young girl, this innocent girl, was being manipulated by adults.
We must presume innocence on the part of the girls. At the same time, we must presume or assume that JAMB has acted pursuant to the law.
Extend the investigation not only to this one story, Mr. Speaker, but to the issue of special centers.
To be quiet in the face of the trending issue that has raised some questions for the nation, integrity and support for education, will be a disservice to those who have elected us.
16 bills passed first reading at Wednesday's plenary, including the Tertiary Education Trust Fund Act Amendment Bill 2023 and the Armed Forces Act Amendment Bill 2023. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
It is common knowledge that the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, says it has withdrawn the 2023 UTME result of Ejikeme Joy Mesoma, as well as barred her from sitting for the examination for the next 3 years for alleged falsification of her UTME score. The act is one of the challenges the board is faced with. Let's hear from Olayinka Ojo on factors responsible for this act.
Multiple registration by candidates, all in the name of securing high marks, was quite on the high side sometimes back. But now, with necessary ICT in place, JAMB is able to erase the menace. The latest fight before the board is the issue of candidates inflating or falsifying their UTME score. In the last few days, both conventional and unconventional medium of communication, particularly the cyberspace, have been awash with the story of a Nigerian girl from Anambra State, Joy Ejikeme, who allegedly said she emerged as the best 2023 UTME candidate with 362 marks.
This is my aggregate 362. This is exactly how I printed it. I downloaded it from that site. So they now saying that I forged my results is what I don't know.
But from the clearinghouse, which is JAMB, she did actually score 249.
She printed result on the 25th of June, paid 1,500 naira. She printed again on the 3rd of July. But those results she printed, she's not disclosing it to the public. Our template for 2023-2022 result comes with a picture. We stopped using notification of result in 2021.
Although some Nigerians still believe that the mix-up must have emanated from JAMB because Ms. Ejikeme claimed the 362 result sent to her is from the board.
The management of JAMB should sit up. Where is the laxity coming from? It's from them.
During my time, we were made to see JAMB as spirits. They are unapproachable. All you do is your lessons and then you go in there, write your exams. We don't even have a clue of who do what. They alone know what transpired. And then they should be able to do the needful.
246 to 300. Even that 246 can gain him an admission.
Others are putting the blame on the society and parents.
Another aspect of it is parents also putting so much pressure on their children. If your child must not be a medical doctor, a legal practitioner to be able to make it in life.
If it occurred to my child, the first thing I would do is to call my child and question her, that tell me the truth.
My advice to parents is don't push them. Try to understand their capabilities, what they like.
What is the place of law in all of this?
Going by the law,
If you are caught, or if it's found by the court of law, obviously, that you have been involved in examination malpractice, you stand the chance of getting fined to an amount not less than 50,000 naira, and you stand a possible jail term of about 3 years.
If Joy Ejikeme falsified her UTME score, what then becomes of Precious Ume, who is also an indigene of Anambra State, whom JAMB announced as top scorer in the 2023 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examinations conducted with a cumulative mark of 360 at its recently held policy meeting? This is a story for another day. Olayinka Ojo, NTA News.
Well, if Mesoma is found guilty, she and her parents do have questions to answer. Meanwhile, Romanus Ejikeme, father of 19-year-old Mesoma, whose 2023 JAMB result is under contention, insists that his daughter did not forge her result. The Anambra State government says its stand on the issue will be made known when the committee set up to investigate the issue comes up with its findings. Chinyere Fesi Okoye tells us more.
Uruagu Nnewi, and precisely at the residential home of Mr. Ejikeme Romanus, the father of Miss Mesoma Ejikeme, the girl whose JAMB result has been shrouded in controversy.
Well, we are not happy about this latest development because since 2 months ago now, she has been trading with that 362. So after 2 months later, JAMB condemned the score that is fake. So I don't know where the fault is from. She shall be taking first position from nursery school till now.
Okay, but do you know where she took the examination, whether it is in a special center?
I didn't follow her to the center. Where? They should consider that a little star, not to tarnish her image. She has been crying since all these things have been happening. So she's not happy and she's frustrated now.
From Mesoma's father's house, we drove straight to Anglican Girls Secondary School. But on getting here, all efforts to get across to the principal or Mesoma proved abortive. The security on duty said it has been directed to tell us to go back to where we are coming from, as the principal is not on seat.
Hello?
Hello, ma. I called you yesterday in respect to Mesoma.
I'm not the education secretary. I'm working under him. Huh? I won't be saying what I don't know. Huh? I'm just the principal of the school and I'm new here.
What then is the stand of Anglican Diocese of Nnewi, owners of the school?
We must know the truth about the matter and do all we can. Presently, the DSS are into the matter, so we have no reason to talk about this matter, to make a statement until after we have heard from the DSS as the government body that has the right to do this kind of investigation.
The consensus is that all efforts and all who are concerned in the investigative process to ensure that truth comes out at the end of the day to nip this kind of situation in the bud in the future. From Nnewi, Chinyere Fesi Okoye, NTA News.
There are so many questions to be answered. Well, in other news, Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima says the federal government is doing everything possible to maintain peace towards achieving meaningful development. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Usman Jibrila reports that the Vice President stated this when he received the Emir of Hadejia on a courtesy visit at the presidential villa.
Vice President Kashim Shettima emphasizes peace as a major prerequisite for national development. He commended the Hadejia Emirate for its development strides in different sectors, particularly the Dangote rice mill. On the issue of incessant flooding being experienced in Jigawa State, the Vice President pledged that the federal government will soon address the challenge of flooding facing the state because of its negative impact on agriculture. The federal government, according to the Vice President, will complement the high capacity of the state for wheat production in the next program to enable the cultivation of minimum of 50,000 to 100,000 hectares. Emir of Hadeja, Dr. Adamu Abubakar Maji, congratulated President Bola Tinubu and the Vice President on their successful inauguration and promised their continued support for the government. He thanked the Vice President for appointing one of their sons as the Deputy Chief of Staff to the President. From the State House, Abraman Usman Jibrila, NTA News.
We are told no knowledge is ever a waste, not to talk of specialized knowledge that will produce technically skilled manpower. It is therefore good news to hear that the federal government says it has concluded arrangements for the takeoff of the African Aviation Aerospace University, Abuja. This follows the approval of the National Universities Commission to the Ministry of Aviation for the establishment of the university and resumption of academic programs.
Just got our approval. The presidential approval came, I think, in the first quarter of this year. Then the NUC approval just came 3 weeks ago, so some weeks ago. So we're starting small. That is one thing I will certainly tell. We're starting small with a very small capacity so that we can see the potential that how we can grow further. But certainly we're starting with not more than 100 students for the first year.
To this end, the Nigerian Meteorological Agency and the university have signed a memorandum of understanding on weather as it relates to the aviation sector. That's indeed cheering. Now, each time building collapses, the reaction is always, it is now disaster too many. Rescue operations go on, and in most cases, that is it. Well, there's another building collapse in Abuja, but this time, the FCT administration has vowed to prosecute the contractor of the collapsed four-story building in Life Camp Extension. FCT Permanent Secretary Olushade Adeshola promised this while inspecting the scene of the incident. Onoze Yakubu has details.
FCT Permanent Secretary Olushade Adeshola says the collapsed building is the repercussion of ignoring the professional advice of the consultant as well as that of the administration, and promised to prosecute the erring contractor.
The collapse of this building affirms the fact that when you ignore professional advice and process, it has a repercussion, and this is what is evident. We were just informed that instructions and notices were served. Stop work. Even the consultant site advised that no further construction work will be done on this site.
Mr. Permanent Secretary, sir, you will notice that this is a very massive building, and if not for the support of all the stakeholders, especially the FCDA, who have given us all the equipment, plus the equipment used by development control, we wouldn't have finished this operation by now.
The Director of Development Control Department, Mukhtar Galadima, reveals that preliminary investigation shows that when the contractor commenced the project, there were observations made by the site engineers who asked the contractor to resubmit the building plan for the basement because the topography was not reflected in the earlier design, but failed to comply.
Now, along the line, in the course of development, there were some alterations, and the building was asked to stop until those modifications are integrated in the design. So he was asked to stop. In fact, a test was conducted to determine the integrity of the structure. The consultant advised him personally that please don't do anything on the site, because if you do anything, it's going to collapse.
He added that the contractor, after defying the earlier directive, mobilized to the site during the Salah break, resulting in the unfortunate incident which occurred when the workers attempted to cast on the existing structure. Onoze Yakubu, NTA News.
We need to begin to pay serious attention to our building materials, followed with monitoring. Our buildings can't keep falling. Still, development is crucial to industrial development of a country like Nigeria. No wonder an attempt was made decades ago to take that road. Somehow the destination has not actually been reached. Well, the Ibira People's Forum in Kogi State are reminding the country of this all-important journey. They say the completion of the Ajaokuta Steel Company Limited holds the key to realizing President Tinubu's vision of positioning Nigeria as one of the industrialized nations. Hamid Jimo, the president of the forum, expressed this sentiment during a meeting held at the company's complex. Jacob Sani has details.
Ajaokuta Steel Company Limited, one of the steel mills in Nigeria located in the Ajaokuta area of Kogi State, was established as a federal government initiative to boost the nation's economy. However, despite being conceived over 4 decades ago, the steel company has been unable to commence full operations. Concerned about the company's inactivity, a pressure group called the Ibira People's Forum, representing the central senatorial districts of the state, believes that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration possesses the strong determination to revitalize the steel company. They anticipate that the company, once operational, will have the capacity to create 10,000 direct employment and 500,000 indirect employment for the youth population. Additionally, the group expects a reduction in the importation of iron rods and flat sheets, as well as an improvement in power generation within the country if the steel company undergoes an overhaul.
There is no doubt in our mind that your desire and political will to industrialize Nigeria will be realized through the completion of Ajaokuta Steel Complex. We appeal that you should facilitate the resuscitation of Ajaokuta Steel Complex to put Nigeria on the global industrial nation.
The forum expresses its appreciation to key individuals involved in the revival of Ajaokuta Steel Company Limited, particularly Governor Yaya Bello. Jacob Sani, NTA News.
Coalition of Northern Civil Society Groups on the platform of good governance and advocacy group has cautioned against what it calls premeditated attempt by Kano State government to ridicule the immediate past governor of the state, Abdullahi Umar Ganduje. The coalition, in a statement by its secretary, Mohammed Lawan Shuaibu, alleged that there is a sinister move by the state government using the State Anti-Corruption Commission to bring the name of the former governor Ganduje to disrepute through a politically motivated dialogue by the Kano State Public Complaints and Anti-Corruption Commission led by Muhuyi Magaji. The coalition says the attempt was aimed at denting the image of the former chief executive of Kano State, who enjoys a good relationship with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and to prevent him from securing a deserving political appointment. While noting that the selected civil society organizations are alleged to be card-carrying members of the new Nigeria People's Party in Kano, the coalition reminded the organizers that the matter is already in court and advised the public to ignore activities of the commission. To be forewarned is to be forearmed, as Emirate predicts intense rainfall. Let's take some time out at this point and then bring you details of these and other stories in our next segment. Join us again. You're still watching News Extra on NTA. To be forewarned, they say, is to be forearmed. And like it is also said, those with ears, let them hear. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency says the northern Nigeria and parts of the north central will experience extreme weather condition in the days ahead that could result in flooding. This is coming as the agency signs a memorandum of understanding on weather-related disaster management and rescue. Musa Babali tells us more.
The rainy season is here, and it is wet almost every day in most parts of the northern states, including the Federal Capital Territory. Reports from Emirate Observation Center indicates that the states are experiencing above normal rainfall this year. This has therefore resulted to flooding in some states, including Kebbi, Jigawa, Adamawa, and the FCT.
We've seen in Katsina just last 24 hours, they received 178 millimeters of rain in less than 10 hours. And we've seen evidence of flash floods in Katsina. We have seen Borno, Yobe, Jigawa, and parts of Kano will have well above normal rainfall. And that is the upstream location of this country, and whereby all the rivers drain down to the central parts of the state. So people should please adhere to our focus products.
To this end, the weather watchdog signed a pact with the International Rescue Committee on the provision of advisory on rainfall-related data, as well as forecast on flooding.
We engage a lot of partnership with stakeholders that are on the ground to be able to relay our services. As we say, our services are perishable, so we need a platform to relay these products. And the IFRC, they have been in some parts of this country providing early warning, especially services. So, and they see our services as very pertinent, and that's why we've signed the MOU for them to relay our products, especially to their target states. This we have done to more than 30 organizations.
It has been predicted that more than 25 states of the country will experience flooding this year. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Thank you, Musa. Now, for most communities, the rainy season signifies good tidings with prospects of fresh farm produce to smile about. But predictions by those who should know about this year's rainfall are scary. They say rainfall this year will surpass that of 2022, putting many on alert as they recall the devastation of last year's flood. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that this issue took center stage at Wednesday's Senate plenary.
The matter was raised jointly by Senator Benga Daniel and Senator Umar Sadiq Suleiman, setting the tone for contributions from other lawmakers who narrated the havoc caused by rains less than 3 months into the rainy season.
Downpours have resulted in destructions and deaths. As residents of Lagos Island and mainland in Lagos were displaced, business owners and residents were displaced also in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. Reported death in Enugu due to this surge. A 10-year-old was swept away by flood in Delta.
Cost of dredging is very high, but the destruction to lives and properties, there is a trade-off. You dredge, okay, so as to save the lives of the people.
It will be necessary and important. Instead of at each time we now keep asking, what do we do after harms have been done? That is post-mortem.
Senate wants agencies to do more on prevention and mitigation of imminent disaster.
Our behavior all along in this country towards the issue of flooding is like being penny wise and pound foolish. Will allow flooding to occur and then rush to the scene with a lot of money for palliatives.
Several provisions were made in the 2023 budget. When our committees are constituted, the relevant committees will now oversight to make sure that the funds that were released are, utilized for the purpose of dealing with these for the issues.
Relevant ministries, departments, and agencies to release funds as provided for in the 2023 budget for dredging of block canals and water bodies, amongst others. Those who are in support as amended, they say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Another area of concern raised by Senator Ekpenyo Asukwo is the poor state of the Calabar-Oban-Ekang Road in Cross River State, linking the southern part of Nigeria to neighboring Cameroon. Senate urges authorities concerned to review the ongoing contract for the rehabilitation of the road.
Cetraco Nigeria Limited, which was awarded the contract for the rehabilitation of the Calabar-Oban-Ekang Road long before now, has not been mobilized to site despite the deplorable state of the road, even with the provision of 250 million naira in the 2023 Appropriation Act as an ongoing project.
Meanwhile, Senate shall, in line with the provisions of its standing rules, henceforth hold sittings on Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays, as announced by the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio. This followed a point of order raised by Senator Yinaya Abaribe.
Following the outbreak of COVID-19, safety protocols were introduced, and so Senate had to comply by reducing the number of sitting days per week from 3 to 2.
The Senate Minority Caucus has held its first meeting after the emergence of principal officers as it strategizes for robust participation in the 10th Senate. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Now, exploring opportunities for promoting peace, stability and strengthening economic collaboration is at the center of deliberations at the 4th Lake Chad Basin Governors Forum that has commenced in Chad. The forum, organized by the Lake Chad Commission in collaboration with African Union Commission, UNDP and donor partners, is equally geared towards sustaining gains of previous engagements. Maimuna Garba was there.
Hosted by the Chadian authorities, the 4th Lake Chad Basin Governors Forum, designed to commence from 5th to 7th of July, brought together 8 governors of Lake Chad Basin territories, among is Borno State Governor Babagana Umara Zulum, 20 high-level dignitaries and 350 delegates across the globe. Key issues expected to dominate discussions at the forum include 13-year Boko Haram security challenges, its attendant impacts that include widespread displacement, damage to social fabric, disruption of public service delivery, and weakened institutional capacity across Nigeria, Niger, Chad, and Cameroon, and feat made in addressing the security challenges, especially mass surrendering of repentant Boko Haram members. The forum is also expected to review the regional stabilization strategy, its impact on resettlement of displaced communities, entrenchment of civil authorities, support for livelihoods, resumption of development activities, and strengthened Lake Chad Basin, among others. Through the regional stabilization strategy, the forum seeks for a renewed and sustained response that are needed for regional states to transit from instability to recovery and development. In Maiduguri, Maimuna Garba, NTA News.
Back to flood mitigation. Flooding is a major challenge during the rainy season, and Lagos, being a coastal state, is no exception, as residents have their share of horror stories whenever it rains. Diana Ajale in this report takes a look at how menacing the flood situation in Lagos is and what the state government is doing to check flooding in the metropolis.
Lagos State, a mega city with a population of more than 20 million people, is surrounded by water, with most of its residents living close to beaches and flood-prone areas.
Whenever rain falls, sincerely speaking, we experience floods all over, everywhere.
Drainages are blocked, so they need to make the drainages bigger, wider. The drainages are not effective.
Relevant authorities say they are currently working hand in hand with about 25 communities identified as flood-prone areas to reduce the effects of flooding in the state.
Immediately after last year's rainfall, we reviewed our actions, identified gaps, and based on these gaps, we looked at those communities that were mostly affected and the actions that were needed to prevent reoccurrence.
Wetlands should also be evacuated. I mean, places that are natural buffers for excess water in the ecosystem should be returned to what they are as natural buffers. And I believe strongly with these measures, the government would have been able to a large extent, reduce by a great percentage the incidence of flooding in the state.
Despite awareness campaigns to check indiscriminate disposal of waste in drainage channels to ensure free flow of flood water, the challenge persists.
There must be an enforcement that is not only for the people, but for both the government and the people, so that when somebody fails this enforcement, it's not going to be like, oh, I know somebody somewhere that can save me.
Respondents insist that proper implementation of laws and more proactive flood control measures would go a long way in mitigating the devastation associated with flooding in the state. In Lagos, Diana Ajale, NTA News.
Thank you, Diana. But you know, to an extent, it's simple. Don't dump your refuse and plastics indiscriminately. Let's have a change of attitude. Nigerians will soon breathe breaths of fresh air as government moves to ease the process of passport registration and cut down on waiting time. Acting Comptroller General of Immigration, Wuraola Adepoju, gave the indication in an exclusive interview with NTA. Victor Azu reports that the immigration boss says she's also working to enhance staff welfare.
The Nigeria Immigration Service has several constitutional functions, but the one for which it is most famous is issuance of passports. It's a responsibility that comes with a lot of pressure. This explains why passport administration gets priority attention from every Comptroller General. Now there's a new share.
To make sure that our people are trained and retrained. Housing for our personnel is a major issue. We're going to look at housing.
For the many Nigerians who believe that what a man can do, a woman can do it even better, this is a unique opportunity to prove them right. And the acting immigration boss has promised that Nigerians have that opportunity to feel her expertise. In Abuja, Victor Azu, NTA News.
Well, I agree, Victor. What a man can do, a woman can do better. Now, the serenity of Minna, the capital city of Niger State, was threatened when a group of gunmen invaded the palace of Emir of Minna, Farouk Umaru Bahago, and carted away undisclosed amount of money. Fatima Usman reports that the two palace aides, including the Emirate cashier who were shot by the rampaging gunmen, are recuperating.
The tragic incident occurred some few minutes after 4 p.m. when some Muslims were still observing their Asr prayers at the palace mosque. The Emirate cashier, who has been in one of the commercial banks in the city to cash some undisclosed amount of money, returned to the palace. An eyewitness account has it that it was suspected the gunmen must have been on the trail of the cashier because as soon as they entered into the palace, they aimed for the bag after shooting sporadically to scare people away.
I heard some noise of gunshots outside the palace here. Some children came in rushing, saying they are thieves, they are thieves, they are thieves. I said, thieves in the palace? Because we were trying to drag the bag of money together with one of the doors and elderly somebody. So unfortunately, seeing that, they shot him on the thigh. And somebody, one dogeri was also coming to help. So they also shot him by the chest.
Secretary of Minna Emirate Council also speak on the need to beef up security at the palace and other strategic places, as this is the first time the Emirate is witnessing such ugly incidents in its years of existence. Meanwhile, in a press release confirming the incident by Niger State Police Command, it indicates that the State Criminal Investigation Department has commenced investigation. Niger State government has also reacted to the ugly incidents, describing it as unfortunate and height of disregard for the traditional institution, assuring that perpetrators of the dastardly act will be brought to justice. In Minna, Fatima Usman, NTA News.
Still talking security, Ebonyi State Police Command has confirmed that the tactical team of the force has repelled an attempt by the suspected IPOP ESN members who caused havoc in parts of the state under the guise of enforcing illegal sit-at-home order. A statement by the State Police Public Relations Officer notes that the hoodlums shot sporadically at Ikeze Market in Ivo local government area, Isheke Market and a popular market, Ahifu, along Enugu-Abakaliki Highway to scare residents who scampered for safety. The statement further reveals that the tactical team of the force engaged the hoodlums in a gunduel before they escaped. She confirmed that no life was lost on the part of the police and residents. However, intensive manhunt is ongoing to apprehend the hoodlums and bring them to justice. Meanwhile, the State Commissioner of Police, Ebonyi State, Faleye Olaleye, appeals to residents to remain calm and go about their lawful activities as maximum security measures have been put in place to avert reoccurrence. And provision of maximum operational needs, welfare packages, among other incentives, are pertinent in the management of troops for successful counterinsurgency operations. The Nigerian Army considered these options at an event as part of activities commemorating Nigerian Army Day Celebration 2023 in Ibadan, Oyo State.
Nigeria is one of the countries encountering dynamism in growing insurgency and terrorism, hence the need for critical role of administering troops adequately. This was identified in the lecture titled Optimizing Nigerian Army Administration for Successful Counterinsurgency Operations, Strategic Options.
The key is that we must constantly be abreast of the developments and interrogate ways and begin to also follow what the insurgents are doing.
As Nigerian Army celebrates 160 years of existence in Army Day Celebration 2023, harmonizing intelligence, synergy among security agencies, input from retired officers, and motivation of men and women of force is key. The Chief of Defense Staff, Major General Christopher Musa, joined by other senior military officers, led by the Chief of Army Staff, Major General Taurid Lagbaja, unveiled a book which provided insight into Nigerian Army participation in ECOMOG operations and lessons learned.
The operational aspect is important, but the administrative that goes in before, during, and after our operations is what determines our level of success or failure. The Nigerian Army bringing the issue of administration to the front corner. Under my watch, the Nigerian Army shall remain loyal and do all within its power to defeat our adversaries across the length and breadth of our dear country.
At an engagement thereafter, with media executives including Executive Director News NTA Ayo Adewiyi, the Chief of Army Staff attended to questions bordering on national security and the way forward. In Ibadan, Oyeyinka Omole,
more grace to their elbows. A peep into the world of horse grooming and racing, cashless policy, cash crunch, and declining relevance of ATMs in focus. Now, what is your story? These and more to come your way after this break that beckons to stay. Thanks for staying with the NTA. In anticipation of the appointment of a new Minister of Finance by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Nigerians are in eager expectations, hoping for a decisive, competent and innovative minister who can steer the country out of its economic challenges. Ajaokuta reports that as the anticipation mounts, citizens are voicing their hopes and aspirations.
It has been an enlightening experience speaking with Nigerians from all walks of life on their expectations from the incoming finance minister. And one thing stands out, it is the fact that their voices echo a collective desire for a leader who can successfully manage the country's finances as well as initiate policies that can steer Nigeria towards economic stability.
Number one is the Honourable Minister must address the critical issue of inflation, the cost of living. Prices of commodities are soaring high, against the background of the fuel subsidy removal.
Whatever the new finance minister must do, he must make sure that he does not depend just on income from oil and tax, which is called physical income.
So we expect much from the incoming Minister of Finance to be able to put the fiscal policy in place that will really manage the economy.
Austin Eba, a commercial driver, stares into the horizon, craving stability for his family's future. He longs for a minister who will adopt favorable fiscal policies that will encourage business growth.
We will come to road, we will not see passenger. Formerly, I can load here at least 10 times, 15 times a day, but now, hardly we load even 4 times.
The main debate that the fuel, that fuel where they increase, is supposed to remove, it's supposed to reduce and small, but it's too much. Well, at the end of the when we work, at the end of the when we buy fuel finish, there's nothing remain for us.
Austin and Sunday's expectations mirror those of countless others who, beyond the desire for a business-friendly environment, yearn for a finance minister who is committed to combating corruption, ensuring public funds are managed responsibly, and building trust within the financial system.
So just to make sure they manage the resources well, that each funds that is sent out for a particular thing is being executed for the particular project.
And I mean, it's very essential right now because Nigeria needs all the income that we can actually get.
We also expect that our currency, the value should come up a little.
There are a lot of youth now that they are not employed. They need to look at that so that when they improve the economy, the private sector will be enhanced.
As Nigerians await the president's appointment of his cabinet members, it is hoped that the incoming Minister of Finance takes into account these voices and works diligently to transform the country's economic landscape. In Abuja, Neka Uku, NTA News.
Thank you, Neka. And Nigerians are waiting to see the personality. Cash crunch witnessed in the country some time ago is now a thing of the past, but not for residents of Maiduguri, the Borno state capital. Here, residents are wondering why automated teller machines, ATM, all over the town have gathered dust for over 4 months, with continuous cash crunch being experienced in all aspects of business transactions. Cashless policy, though, is gaining grounds. Yarwaya Umar sought to know where the problem lies.
Bank customers were virtually sleeping at the ATM point to get cash, but now the ATMs are a ghost of themselves. Despite the cashless policy initiated in Nigeria's commerce and banking sector, automated teller machine ATM points remain a key component of cash transactions. However, since the cash crunch experience early this year, where people spend days on queue at ATMs, the story is different, as all points located at banks and business districts have been closed for months. The situation, which has changed since the introduction of Naira redesign and was later put on hold with both the new and old Naira notes remaining legal tender, no bank dispenses even limited cash. The business of currency dispensation has now moved to POS operators who are struggling to transact with mutilated small cash. Cross-section of the residents interviewed appealed to governments and the financial institution to load the machines with enough cash to enable them make transactions with ease.
Is to provide more cash to the banks so that ATM machines can function properly.
We are not against the e-banking, but it is also important that the citizenry should have money, at their disposal.
Even when you visit the ATM machine, you cannot find any cash there. So please, we are appealing to the government to intervene.
I can't remember when I removed money from ATM.
POS seemed to be the only source of cash for citizens, as most transactions happen within the communities. Hence, operators devise an alternative way of getting cash from traders and filling stations who no more go to banks to make deposits. Are we seeing declining relevance of banking in currency matters, as they are now mostly dealing with customer care issues? Only time will tell. In Maiduguri, Yarwaya Umar, NTA News.
For more from the financial world, let's hear from our expert here at the NTA, Musa. Let's hear from you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Let's begin with telecommunications. The Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, says the country's internet subscribers rose to 159.59 million in May 2023 from 149.78 million recorded in the corresponding period last year. The Commission said this in a recent update on industry statistics published on its website. Mobile is set to account for 159.04 million subscribers, while fixed wire and voice over internet protocol shared the remaining numbers. This, the NCC say, means mobile telecommunication sector contributed to the country's gross domestic products from 8.50% in 2015 to 14.13% in first quarter 2022. U.S. crude oil gained 3% on Wednesday, narrowing the price gap with global benchmark Brent in a post-holiday response to supply cuts announced on Monday by top oil exporters Saudi Arabia and Russia, as market participants awaited demand data for the 4th of July weekend. Reuters report that U.S. Texas Intermediate crude rose $2.15 from Monday's close, or 3.1% to $71.91 a barrel. Brent crude futures rose 45 cents or 0.5% to $76.66 a barrel after gaining $1.60 a barrel on Tuesday. And now to capital markets. It's a positive close for investors in midweek trading on the floor of the equities market. The all-share index advanced 1.33% to close at 61,523.57 points. A sum of 846 million securities valued at 10.3 billion naira were traded in 9,815 deals. Equity capitalization climbed to 33.5 trillion naira. FBN Holdings, Transcorp and Access Holding PLC were the most traded stocks at the end of the session. And that's a quick look at business. Elizabeth, is back to you.
Thank you, Musa. There are special animals whose features are well crafted by the maker. They come in different breeds and require high cost of maintenance. Interestingly, they're also known to exude emotions just like humans. That is, if you study them well. They only find them around elites because they are naturally born to be in luxury of their own standards. What do you know about the grooming of a horse before it is put out on the race tracks? If you don't know much, it is your lucky day. So brace for the excitement as Ruth Aguele visits one of the many stables in Bida, Niger State, and delves into the world of horse grooming just before the race.
Being in a stable for the first time comes with a lot of anxiety. The thought of touching the horses and the temptation for a ride runs through the mind. An array of horses of different breeds. One could hardly tell the difference. A visit to Serikindawakin stables, located in Bida, Niger State, was an eye-opener on horse grooming. Interestingly, the horses are of different breeds and have names as well, but the breeds range from Talon, Sudan, Arawa. Here is Thoroughbred, the Niger breed, and the Belgian draft for the cart, weighing an average of 800 kilograms with the capacity to pull any weight. This particular species is only 3 in West Africa and located in this stable. The trainers, who sometimes double as jockeys, must ensure these horses are fit for the tracks. Mahdi Ahmed is 16. He became a jockey at age 10 and already a champion in horse racing and has won several competitions. Mahdi says his world revolves around these horses.
Ina jin daɗi ina horiki ina sukuwa don sukuwa duk wanda ke da tsoro ba zai iya ta ba don sukuwa kaddara ce in ka hauta kawai ka sai da rayuwarka ne za ka yi ta rayuwarka rabi na duniya rabi na lahira
Abubakar Umar is a retired jockey, but now a trainer. He says to be a certified jockey, one must maintain an average weight between 40 to 50 kilograms. Anything beyond that is an impossible mission if a race must be won. For the grooming, every part of the horse has to be smoothened to keep the horse in good shape before riding it. Care for the horses comes with routine medical checks to ascertain their condition. Trimming and filing of the hoofs to remove thrush is also done on intervals. Just like humans, these horses have emotions too, I learned.
Once you see their ears, they took it back. You see, most of their ears is like this, but one is turn it back like this. Don't go closer.
What does the backward mean?
It's telling you she doesn't like you coming near.
Daily training with the horses is mandatory.
Competition is more frequent now, so it's a way of making the groomers get to know their horses better, and it gives the horses competition too.
And the climax is the race. That comes with cash reward for the winners.
In horses, what we're looking for is the endurance and the stable. This serves as a training for our horses, to make them have, better stamina. Obviously, it's a factor to reckon with, in terms of having to compete, anywhere in Africa.
For some, this may be a sporting activity, but for others, this is a lifestyle and business. A business I'm also considering. Lest I forget, I fulfilled my burning desire to ride on one. Ruth Aguela, NTA News.
Ruth, they got you there. Thank you for that report. Still to come, war against drug trafficking hits target on the high sea. Details right after this breather. See you in a jiffy. You're still watching News Extra. Leveraging precision of its maritime domain awareness capability, known as Falcon Eyes, the Nigerian Navy is reaffirming that the nation's waterways no longer safe haven for perpetrating illegal acts. And in demonstrating this resolve, the Nigerian Navy ship Beecroft, through its technological-driven platform, has intercepted more than 10,000 kilograms of cannabis sativa with street value running into billions. Michael Olale reports.
It is the constitutional duty of the Nigerian Navy to keep an eye on the sea, and in simplifying this mandate, investment in technology is steadily complementing regular patrol and surveillance. The effectiveness of this maritime domain awareness platform instituted by the Navy came to play on the 3rd of July 2023 when satellite imagery detected transshipment of cannabis sativa from a boat to a waiting vehicle somewhere around the ocean shore in the Bejulek area of Lagos.
So if you calculate that 50K.
According to the commander of NNS Beecroft, the Navy's response through a patrol team forced the smugglers to navigate their escape, leaving behind 200 bags of cannabis sativa, with each weighing 50 kilograms.
In as much as we have been able, to prevent this consignment from entering into the society, I think that alone will serve as a deterrent.
The Navy says it is aware of the nexus between drug, crime and violence, so it is ensuring the maritime environment is safe for legitimate businesses to thrive.
Nigeria will remain poised and resolute, and we are not going to leave any stone unturned to go after these criminals and ensure we make the maritime environment safe for the economic prosperity of our dear country.
While promising to hand over the consignment to appropriate agency for possible prosecution, the Navy says due process will be followed in carrying out this task. In Lagos, Michael Olaleye, NT News.
So far so good. Time to take a final break and then bring you a bit of sports.
sachets.
With Ofoni United versus Agbere FC and Akemfa FC versus Dream Boys of Odi. In another development, the first phase of FIFA Member Association course for futsal, women and elite referees concludes Thursday with 75 participants set for physical fitness tests at the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, Abuja. Nigeria Football Federation emphasized the renewed commitment to support referees in the country to attain highest recognition and listing by the World Football Governing Body at Grade A events.
We identify some talents that we can work on them, continue to give them special training so that we can close that gap that we are talking about.
4 FIFA instructors are in the country for the annual event, which enters the second phase with elite referees on Friday. With sports updates, Ayodeji, Makinde, NTA News.
The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, on behalf of the federal government, mourns the death of the first Federal Capital Territory Minister, Chief Mobolaji Ajaokuta, aged 96. Chief Ajaokuta Ajaokuta was appointed the first FCT minister under the regime of General Murtala Mohammed and was charged with the responsibility of drawing up the Abuja Master Plan. The SGF describes the late former minister as a technocrat, a boardroom guru, entrepreneur, oil magnate, and an initiator of developmental projects in the country. He commiserates with the government and people of Lagos State, his immediate family, and prays God to grant the soul of the departed eternal rest. And that's News Extra today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Elizabeth Omori. Remain patriotic always.